Welcome to Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Ship, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my life with a son on the spectrum. This podcast is for anyone who is looking for quick tips and perspective, but most of all, for hope and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and let's put the pieces together. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pieces for My Puzzle. I'm your host, Nikki Ship. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited to be extending part 4 of my Moms with Mimosas series today. And I have some of my most favorite people here with me. Please welcome Kim, Rachel, and Marcy to the show. Thanks again, guys, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
We're going to extend our talk a little bit from last week. So if you didn't tune in last week, please tune into the show so that you can hear part 1 from all of us lovely ladies and just getting that mom's perspective that you might need. But we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. I know we kind of closed off last week's episode just talking about services and, finding the right providers and things like that. But I wanted to ask you guys a question of, what are some experiences that you thought that you would never have to go through with a child on the spectrum? I know I've had several moments where I'm like, wow, I didn't think I was going to have to be dealing with that, which I think as parents, we all kind of deal with that in general, right? But tell me about some of the experiences maybe you thought you would never have to navigate with your child.
I would say a big one for us would be, just taking Caitlin out in public because she's not really aware of, first of all, no stranger danger, anything like that. Mm-hmm. She's not aware. She also has no idea of personal space. And so that can be very awkward. And so there are often times, still, and she's almost 10, where we could be, in line maybe at the grocery store. And if somebody in front of us maybe has a little owie on their leg, she is going to go right up to them and touch it and explore it. So that's awkward. Don't care for that. And then there were a lot of times where she'd strip naked.
That's always my favorite.
Socially acceptable.
Yeah.
So there're just things like that where, and then if I'm not super close to her at the moment, it's like slow motion where I'm just like, no, trying to get to her in time, before she takes her pants off. So those are definitely challenges, things where you're just like, oh my gosh, there's all these people around. Yeah. And she just did this, or she's about to do this. And that makes it very stressful sometimes to go places. So those are things that we're just working on, and we've definitely seen some progress because it used to be so stressful to take her to a park because if there was a kiddo about to go down the slide, she did not understand that she couldn't just step on them to go ahead of them and go down. Like that totally seemed normal to her. Like, it's just, they're in my way. So I'm going to, and kids don't usually respond very well to that. So that wasn't good. And I can see that's one of those areas, though, that she's making some improvements because I will see her go to that slide, see somebody's there, and then kind of back up.
Do you think that's because of school?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's because of school. I think she's learning. That's what I love about this school is that, like, obviously I want her to make strides in academic areas and everything. But for me and just, like, the practicality of all, I'd like her to learn how to wait in line. I'd like her to learn how to take turns and to not go right up within an inch of a person everywhere we go.
That walk up to somebody and like, I like your hair.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my gosh, she's freakishly close. Like,
little creepy. So we're definitely working on that. But I can see, like, I'm getting glimpses
of that. Yeah,
of that getting easier, and that
Drayson's starting to become more self-aware. I'm noticing, and I was telling on the previous episode with Jolyn and Gretchen that. I was in the bedroom changing and he walked in, didn't knock on the door, and I was naked because I was changing. And he was like, oh my God, you're naked. And I was like, you're in my domain. Like, and trying to teach him that, to knock on
door. Yeah, Jackson even make that connection though. He'd probably just sit there.
Yeah.
So I get it. That's
no. Before it never even phased him.
This is a different outfit.
It would never even faze him if I was walking across the room naked or something when he was younger. But like, so then that's now, great. Right yeah, now, he was like, "Oh my God, you're naked," and I was like, "Yeah." And I just tried not to react. Like,
you are right.
No big deal, buddy. No big deal. Like, just walking around with what God gave me. I don't know what else to say. You know, kind of thing. So. What about for you, Rachel? What's been some of the most biggest challenges that you've felt like that you've had to endure
Well, when she was younger, and we still do it now, she has echolalia, which is the repeating of what somebody would say, she would say. Yeah. It's a lot of scripting. It was a lot of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Basically, her entire like growing up for a little bit was the only way she could communicate was saying something that Mickey said, or you know, singing a song from a movie about how she was feeling. So it took a while for us to understand that, like, oh, this is a sad song. Oh, she's sad.
Yeah, to correlate the two.
Right.
Yeah.
But one of the hardest things was, this was during the Frozen phase. There's phases. Oh, goodness.
Oh, Frozen.
When she takes the glove off and then yells, "Don't touch me."
Yeah.
Okay, that was very dramatic.
Yeah.
But she likes to say that everywhere.
Oh, gosh.
So I remember Chris saying that he took her, I don't know, to Target or something and was having her do something, and she was getting frustrated and upset, and just that's what clicked. "Don't touch me." And everybody stopped and stared at him and was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like,
poor Chris.
I know. Right. And he was like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't do anything. Yeah. And I was like, no, I know, but
yeah.
We got to, there was no way to get over that. It's like, you don't get over autism.
Right.
You just cope, and you have like different ways of saying, let's talk about how you feel, or show me how you feel. We have a lot of like little cards that we keep that, you know, show me how you're feeling.
We do like the emotion cards and stuff too. Yeah.
I have them everywhere.
Yeah. We started with colors first and then segued into like the cards with the facial expressions. And Drayson does the same thing. In fact, I don't know what show he's scripting. Oh, I think it was from like Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, when he's like, "What the hell?" So Drayson comes in and goes, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh my God, please don't say that."
Oh no.
God. So her school called.
He's going to bust into a room and say,
not this school. Our school in Washington called and said, "We have to tell you what happened today." And I was like, all right. Brooke was playing basketball and threw the ball and missed the hoop, and then goes, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And I looked at Chris and I was like, dude, March Madness.
Yep.
Funny.
Yeah. It's all him. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, and I can't be mad either because I feel like Drayson will do it in the right context.
It is the right context.
I mean,
she missed it.
I can't really be mad
because
he was being expressive.
Well, and then that's one of those things, right? That fine line between. So there are things that Caitlin might do where if she were a typical child, I would be like, "Oh, you can't do that." But because she just did something that was like a huge thing, and oh my gosh, she's never done that before, and that is so typical, and it is so. Yeah. Then you get excited about it, and then you're like, I don't know if I should be excited about what she just did, except that she's never done it before.
I was trying to put boundaries. So like, I don't get upset that my kids cuss. I just don't. I've never been that parent. I mean, you guys have heard me, I'm sure, on my previous shows drop a couple F-bombs now and again, but I never get upset about it. But I always try to give them the boundary of it. Like we had friends over about 3 weeks ago, and one of my friends was just teasing him, and Drayson didn't like it, and he just kept teasing him, and Drayson turned around and told him, "You're being an asshole," and to stop it. And I was like, "Oh!" And I pulled him in the house, and then I was like, in the house right now, and we came in the house, and I'm like, "All right, dude, high five, speaking your mind."
Right, exactly, right? However. Standing up for himself. Like,
and if I give him rules, he'll follow them. I'm like, please do not ever say that at school. Like, don't ever say that at school. You can say it in the house. You can say it at home. It's safe to be like that in your own home, but you have to be careful when you say those things outside of the house. So only in the house.
But isn't it funny because speech is such a big thing.
It is.
Like we all she was nonverbal for a very long time. Yeah. Just so the scripting is how they were able to communicate. Yes. So it sounds like we're saying, they're communicating greatly. But they're not. They're communicating the way that they are able to understand.
Right.
Well, Jax always says, "Donald, wait."
Yes.
So it's the exact same thing. Yeah. So that's how
Donald, wait.
Donald, wait. Like we say, "Wait a minute, Jax. You gotta stop." This first, he'll say, "Donald,
Caitlin is calm down, Donald."
Yeah, that's when she's mad at you. Donald. If she calls you Donald, she's mad.
Yeah. Donald, listen.
That's funny. Same thing.
Yeah, that's funny. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. I don't know. I don't know that Caitlin would talk.
Yeah,
if it weren't for Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Oh my
I know.
gosh.
Drayson was that and Thomas the Train. Mickey Mouse. And Thomas the Train.
Yeah.
And Super Y.
Yeah.
And the other day, he even scripted back something I was telling him, like, you have to be patient, or I was talking to him about something, and I could hear him all of a sudden. He started scripting from a show that he saw when the lesson was be patient, and so I could hear him. He goes, "And what's the lesson?" And he's like, "Be patient," and I was like, "Oh, it's so cute." I was like, he pulled that out of somewhere, and so now he's giving me life experience through Super Y. Thanks PBS.
That's
right.
Awesome. Take it wherever you can get it.
Right. I know. So I always like to ask this question because I think it's different for everybody. But what has your child taught you? Like, what perspective have you gotten from your child?
You're looking at me.
Or like,
why are you looking at me?
Because I love to hear you
I'm like
talk.
so full of wisdom. I don't know. I'm on the spot now. I mean, I think the logical answer that many parents probably come to is the empathy factor. We talked a little bit about that. Or this is one of my favorite stories to tell sometimes, and I probably told you guys around margaritas, but when Jax was in preschool, preschool, and the pediatrician's idea was he just needs to be put into a school with typically developing kids, and it'll iron itself out.
Yeah, that's always
don't go to Idaho.
Under the rug.
Okay.
Never go to Idaho if you. Anyway, and so I remember sitting before we went into preschool. All the moms and their kids at the time, we would wait there before they opened the door to go into preschool, and this mom was just so pissed off that her son always wanted to wear shorts. Every morning she would be like, I try, and he's still, and I looked, you look at it now and that's your biggest problem.
Yeah, right.
Is that your son won't wear shorts, things like that. So it's always a life lesson. There are so many battles that I just are more important than whether or not when you tell Jax to go change, he'll put on pajamas. Sometimes he wears pajamas on a Saturday all day because that's and I don't care. He dressed himself. He brushed his own teeth.
Wow.
That was, you know what I mean? That's
amazing.
Yeah.
But those are definitely I still think about that woman sometimes, and I wonder
the perspective that you feel when that happens. Yeah. I remember I was volunteering at his other school before we had put him in this one, and one of the moms was ranting about her child in dance. And, can't believe she lost her bloomers. And I told her that was her responsibility. And I'm like, how old is she? 8. Okay. Just ranting on and on and on. And I remember I stood up and I got kind of bitchy. And I just said, wow. I was like, I'm just happy if my kid gets dressed every day. If my kid puts clothes on and has the thought to dress himself.
Put together an
outfit. And
I put together.
Just enough.
Just put on
just enough. I'm like, I'm just lucky if my kid can dress himself.
Yeah.
And she's complaining because her daughter forgot her bloomers for her competition. Yeah. Which is, that's a normal to me. I'm like, all right, well, just and her complaint was that she had to buy another pair of bloomers that were $40 and that she was upset about having to spend the money, which totally understand as a parent. You feel like sometimes you're bleeding money on your kids.
Yeah.
And where's the tourniquet, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I'm like, you're so hard on her for that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, mine called me mom and got dressed.
Yeah.
It's like that perspective that you're describing.
Yeah.
What about for you, Rachel? No, I know.
I don't know. Marcy?
She's like, pass. She's like,
I mean, I would just along the same lines. I feel like we've learned to celebrate everything. Every little thing that I don't think we ever were like that before because, my other 4 developed, on the timeline that they're supposed to. Everything was just, how it was supposed to be.
They hit all the milestones.
Yeah, everything was, so everything was just kind of expected and whatever. And with Caitlin, it's every little thing that she does that's new, or you can tell the whole family celebrates.
Yeah.
The whole family's like, oh, did you just hear that? Oh my God.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting. And then the other thing I feel like I kind of like myself more now because I feel like maybe I just used to be just more agreeable and really, speak out about stuff. And she has helped me get in touch with, maybe it's my inner bitch, or maybe it's because I'm closing in on 50. I don't know. But whatever it is, I like it because I almost feel like, you know what? I dare you to say something about my child right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Because
Lady
it's
at
happened
Costco,
a few times.
get over it.
Right. You know, it's happened a few times where I'm just like, oh my God, I'm actually so glad you said that because I am just looking for a fight.
Right?
And I like it. I feel like I'm just stronger than ever because I'm just like,
I know.
Living like
I always
that,
have to ask myself that too because I'm close to that age as well. I'll be 50 next year, and I'm always like, is that perimenopausal?
Right? Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure.
Is that like mama advocacy in her age? I don't know really.
I don't know either. I don't know either.
Either way, it's going to come out because I can't hold it back anymore.
Yeah, and I don't even want to, and I don't care if anybody has a problem with it because this is my little baby girl.
Yeah,
she can't speak up for herself.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and I was saying to Jillian and Gretchen in the previous episodes to them that I feel like I've entered a different level of confidence that I didn't know I had.
Yes.
Because I have had to be so outspoken for Drayson.
Right, exactly.
You know, I feel like I've learned a lot of patience and even unconditional love. You know, I got to love the good and the bad. I can't just love the good because sometimes when there's bad days, I need to figure out how to embrace those too. And that's a hard thing to do sometimes.
Yes.
You know?
Well, and like accepting our own emotions.
Yes.
If you know me, I don't feel, I refuse to cry. I just, you know, I like to bottle it all up, you know.
And shove it way down. Inside.
Way down.
I know.
Yep. But she did Special Olympics cheerleading.
Yeah.
And can I tell you?
Oh, yeah.
How many tears?
Yeah.
And I tried to hide it for a little bit. And then our wonderful school, there was at least 10 teachers, principals, therapists that went and just saw her because she was not with the school Special Olympics team. She was with a different team. And everybody is just...
That's how I felt when I saw Drayson run track last month. I was just like, I got in the car and I was like totally teary-eyed. I was crying a little bit and I grabbed Drayson's hand and I said, I am so proud of you, buddy. And he looks at me and he's like, why are you crying? I was like, what are you crying for?
Well, that is a typical boy response too. It's not just a man response.
Yeah. It's like, well, you know, it's like, and then I said, I'm just so proud of you. It's not a sad cry. It's a happy cry. And he goes, oh, okay.
But I mean, you have to embrace, I'm trying because I want her to show me feelings.
Right.
I have to start showing
you have to show
too. She'll be like, you're upset. And I'm like, I sure am right now.
Yep.
But how wonderful that she's noticed that on you.
Like, she's like, are you in the red zone or the blue zone?
Does she say that?
She tries to identify.
And I'm like, right now I'm in the red zone, okay?
I love that. I never thought about using the school way of doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Because she wants to know if I'm angry or if I'm sad or frustrated. Frustrated apparently is blue zone.
Oh, yes. That's right.
From the picture.
From the picture.
Miss Jen, yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing. Wow, yeah.
Do you know she started, this is totally off topic, but I'm going to tell you anyway. She started, so Jax is largely non-communicative, but he responds to different things. And for a long time, I, as a parent, rejected the idea, and stupidly so, obviously, of like tablets and things like that, because I wanted him sign language. I mean, we do minimal sign language, but because I didn't know if that would suppress his urge to speak or whatever.
That's common for sure.
So Jen, one day, Miss Jen, his teacher, was doing like no or something like that, and he responded back and verbalized no, but with a sign. So she was like, oh my gosh. So she started learning more. You know, it's always this first, then that. So Jax loves to jump. And she would always be like, this first, you know, later jump. So it like has opened, he's talking so much more. And it's insane. Like, but sometimes it'd be like, no.
Drayson, I'll be like, I think this means I don't care.
I got it.
I think this means I don't care in sign language. I think for those of you listening, you probably
I'm sorry, I'm signing no.
Hand gesture, sorry, but like I remember Drayson did that to me the other day. He almost talked back to me in sign language, and he basically told me I don't care, and I was like, okay, well I don't know how to. I know that. Like I didn't know how to. I was like, he was like talking back to me in sign language. And I was like,
it's a whole new level.
Well, this is new. Yeah, I was like, and I did. I was totally stumped. I'm like, I got home and I told Pat, I said, he just talked back to me in sign language.
Oh my gosh.
So we were like laughing about it. And because he started watching little videos when she was talking and communicating in sign language. So he was, you know, I don't care. or whatever. I think that's the
talk about little wins though. Like that's definitely one of those things where it's like I don't even care whatever he says in sign language if he's like later or you know.
It's true.
Totally.
Yeah, that is one of those things. It's such a misconception about thinking that the signing or the devices, but
brain it just is
it's
totally
like a platform. Like it just
that
helps
brains all work differently.
Yeah.
Something unlocks something.
And when we go out certain places, I allow more screen time for Drayson than we do per se like in the home, right? In the home, he'll actually play like the other day he was playing Scrabble and I go, oh, do you want me to play with you? He's like, no. I'm like, you just want to play Scrabble by yourself? He's like, yes. I'm like, okay.
He's a winner.
I know.
Yeah.
But right. He was like,
Guaranteed win.
I'm busy, Mom. I don't want that kind of thing. But I think sometimes too, I've noticed that like people are like, he's always on the phone. And I'm like, oh, okay, but that's the liberty I give him when we go places because it's hard for me to also get him out and going. So I have to like, again, it's picking and choosing that battle.
Yes.
And so when people see him, oftentimes outside the home, they'll see him take my phone or something. They're like, how much screen time are you allowing him to have? Which I understand. I do understand the concern. But he has learned more things by doing those apps that are on my phone than he has from just me trying to sit and teach him myself or having it go through a certain way.
But I think people don't understand too. Jax is overwhelmed in public.
Yes, Drayson does too.
And those types of
and that
things.
Zones him in to not be so overwhelmed. Yeah.
And the headphones.
Oh yeah.
Headphones.
Why are people so anti-headphones?
I don't know. Jax only puts them on at school.
Caitlin only wears them at school, and so lately now she always comes out of school with them on.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine. Whatever makes her comfortable at school so that she can, do the best she can with everything else. But now she's at home and she's not wanting me to take them off of her. And I was like, we had come a long way with not wearing them anymore. But she also plugs her ears all the time. So then I'm like,
in their classroom?
Maybe, there must be.
No, I mean, really, that's because Jax is very affected by loud sounds.
Yes, Caitlin too.
He can't concentrate. He can't focus.
Yeah,
but a lot of it is also the pressure.
The pressure. It's like a sensory thing. Yeah,
it's the pressure. That's when you have to do 15 on, 15 off, 15
off.
Drayson will scream. He'll go, it's too loud. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think it was that loud or whatever.
Yeah.
So he gets hypersensitive to that too.
That's what it's supposed to.
Okay, that's good to know because maybe we can start using that at home then.
Oh, really?
That I knew about weighted vests and stuff. I didn't really think about it with the headphones.
Because that's what I mean. It's just, there are kids who literally will wear them.
Right. And
all the time, everywhere.
No. He doesn't wear them at school. Yeah. No. I mean, we have a pair just in case he needs them for events and stuff like that.
Headphones in the back of the car.
Oh, boy. We keep the center console in my car. It's very important.
The arsenal of stuff that I carry in my bag, people don't realize just in case. Like, I'm down to like CBD oil drops. I'm like, oh my God, he's got to come down. Like, I got to get the CBD and, oh my gosh, get the phone or get the app out or, get
those,
him,
what are those things called? The strips that you gave me?
Oh, the calm strips. I love those things. Yeah. Like he's got those at his little workstations at home and stuff when he's doing his therapies, the calm strips. And so it's like, you're just making sure you have all those things.
Yeah.
But look at, this is things that we get to talk about.
Yeah.
We get to be excited about.
Right.
And share other things like, oh, have you tried this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Which is, again, the community. So when the autism is brought up and people think of it as a disorder and, oh, we're so sorry. Oh, she doesn't look autistic.
Oh, my favorite.
That's so ridiculous.
I know, right? I'm like, what does autism look like?
Have people said that to you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One I've never gotten.
People will point blank say, he doesn't look autistic. In fact, Jolyn brought it up in the previous podcast episode. She's like, well, what does that look like? Like there's no, there's no definable characteristic on that. It's like, and that's why they call it the spectrum.
Yeah.
So, what moments have given you guys the most joy with your kiddo? Like we're kind of segueing into that topic, but I like Drayson's really gotten into music lately, and I don't know if they were doing it in music class or whatever, but he came home and he started to do air guitar the other day. And we were so excited. I put on music and we're like in the living room, all three of us are just air guitaring.
Oh,
so like those little moments for me are like the cherry on top for the day, right? Like I'm like, oh my gosh, it just made my day. Everything else about my day just completely melted away. So, can you give some perspective to our listeners about the things that have also brought you the most joy? Because, we tend to focus on the therapies and, finding services and the diagnosis and how did you feel? Like all these things that we've been covering on the show today, right? But really, there's so many joyful moments too. So, can you guys tell a little bit to our listeners about what's brought you the most joy?
I think watching my kids with Jax when the big moments happen because, every household is different. I know you have 4 older, I have 2 younger, and it's kind of sad to me sometimes to watch the younger 2 grow up together and Jax is often left out. And not that they don't try to include him, but Jax, like he doesn't really get the concept of, playing closely with one another or all of those things.
True, yeah.
So anytime that Jax includes like Evie, my daughter, it's like you should see her face light up or, you know what I mean? Like Christmases, playing in the back. My favorite time of the year is when the pool opens up because that's Jax's favorite thing. Yep. And they'll all go and play together. And that was just like a couple weeks ago. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. Really? Okay. He lets like that normalizes him. Yeah, and any sense of the word, like he loves the water. He feels comfortable in the water.
It is water. All of our kids are water babies. They all love the pool.
Like he loves being in the water. Even this last vacation when we took him to the beach, I was really worried.
Yeah,
and
because of the sand.
I thought the sand. I thought he was going to freak out about the sand. I really did. He would just go into the water and he would just float and let the tide kind of like lightly bring him in. I got this gorgeous video of him doing it, but he was just like letting it carry him. And I'm like, wow, I haven't seen him that relaxed. But you're right. Drayson's like that too. He's like a little water baby. Yeah, so what about you, Rachel?
Well, going through just watching her with the Special Olympics thing, like the cheerleading. That was making friends. Oh my gosh, she has friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has friends and she talks about them. My friend did this today, or I didn't like it when they did this. And then she's like, I have 3 boyfriends. And I was like, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
She calls Caitlin her friend, though. And I'm just like, oh, this is another one of those moments where I'm just so happy to be with my people who have kids that are like my kid, because nobody's called Caitlin their friend before, she doesn't give a whole lot, to be honest. Right there with you.
But I love it.
But Brooke loves her anyway. And it's like
their friendship is so cute because Caitlin's 2 years younger.
Yes, yeah.
But they are very, very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar. So we would give Brooke you are the babysitter.
Oh,
she needs so she would go to Caitlin and be like, Caitlin, you need to clean up your room.
Yeah. That was perfect though. It was perfect and I wouldn't have known that, but Rachel was like, I think if you kind of put it that way, because I had asked her, I go, so how is Brooke going to feel? Like they're upstairs playing in Caitlin's room and, Caitlin's not going to play with Brooke and she's not going to talk to Brooke.
No, they're still the parallel play. Yeah.
And, so, I was like, how will Brooke feel about that? And so anyway, she goes, if you were to kind of tell Brooke, oh, would you mind, just, babysitting? I don't want to. And so I turned it into this. I don't want to make you feel like you have to, but it would be so nice if you would just keep an eye, just let me know. And then she was like, oh yeah, I got this. And then, then I felt good. Like, oh, she's happy. And then, they get along great because I don't know. I think Caitlin and Brooke knows not to do the things that other kids might do. Like Brooke's not going to get all in her face and be all loud and do all these. I don't know.
And Brooke's a lot like Drayson too, like the informant.
Yes.
Well, and when they're together, it's cute because there's a lot of the parallel. They'll sit beside each other, but they don't want to talk to each other.
Right.
But they'll sit beside each other, and then they'll go swim and jump and do stuff, and then they'll again kind of separate a little bit, but know where each other is.
But they do. They're very aware of each other's surroundings, and if they do something out of the norm, Drayson's like, "Mom."
Yeah.
Brooke's on the rock wall. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
She's trying to cliff jump.
You are such a snitch. That kind of thing. But and I think that that's important to remember. I always tell parents when I speak with other parents is that it's hard, right? It's hard being the parent of a special needs child. But I think if you choose to enjoy the journey rather than feel like you're in the trenches or feel like it's a chore or feel resentment or anger, because there's some parents out there, and I'm going to say this very plainly to all of our listeners today, that, you know, and you might be feeling this way yourself. You know, we've talked about getting out of your own head and really trying to focus on your child and make the best of every situation that you can make. And I think that that's so important, because otherwise you're depriving yourselves of those joyful moments. And I think that that's so important and to recognize. So,
for sure.
You know, with that being said, though, you know, what advice would you give to other parents maybe that are receiving a new diagnosis with their child? You know, if you could give them one golden nugget of information or inspiration, what would that be?
I would say that at least what's been the most important thing for me is seeking out other parents who are going through the same thing. There's been nothing that has helped me like that, because I went several years without that.
Me too, yeah.
And, you know, I've lost friends over it, which honestly, good riddance. I mean,
tell me about it.
Right.
But, you know, I would try to go with a friend and their kiddo and go to the park. And it was not fun. And it just made me sad. And I just wanted to cry when I was driving home, because for a million reasons. But then I feel like once I started meeting people, and it's still a small group, but thanks to you guys, you know, it's definitely getting bigger. But it's just been this huge shift, because I feel like, oh my gosh, I can hang out with these people and our kids can hang out together and there's just no stress.
Yeah.
And then we all have these things to share with each other that maybe we've never thought of.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've had that with Rachel, with her telling me when we first kind of met that Brooke was nonverbal pretty much up until 9. And I was like, how is that possible?
That's
because
so
I'm
crazy,
listening to Brooke, and she would even tell me when she first kind of saw Caitlin, got to know Caitlin, she's like, she reminds me so much of Brooke with the plug in her ears. And I was like, really? Wait, Brooke, who, you know, is just such a joy and talks. And so it's like, it gives me hope, you know, whether Caitlin is just like that or not when she's 12, it doesn't matter. All you need is that little hope.
Right.
A little light that you can be like, all right, it's going to be okay.
And choosing to be around people that collectively are going to have that positive outlook too. You know, there's people are like, what support groups are you in? I'm like, none.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why is because of the negative connotation that some of these groups have.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that you can't complain or bitch about what's been difficult. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you, you guys know all the trials and tribulations that we've been through with Drayson, and I know yours. And it's okay to bitch and vent about those, but I don't want that to be the foundation of why I'm moving forward with my son doing some of these things, you know? So what about for you, Rachel?
You don't you don't have to give an explanation for anything.
That's
you don't have to tell anybody anything.
That's a great piece of advice.
If they say anything, they ask a question, that's your business. That's not theirs.
Right.
You don't ask why. Why is she autistic? Does it matter? No.
Does it matter? No.
No.
Right.
Just
don't
embrace the diagnosis and move forward and up.
Yeah.
I mean, spiral for a little bit. We all do.
Yeah, you got to do it.
You
got to spiral for a little bit.
But just don't stay there.
We just can't stay there. Yeah.
But if you aren't going to embrace the diagnosis, then they won't either.
Right.
And then there will be no change. There will be no hope.
No, that's a great piece of advice, because that's the thing too. Is I don't want Drayson to wake up or grow up and then wake up one day and realize I'm autistic. Like, he said it for the first time the other day that he was autistic. And I was like, but we don't treat it like it's a bad thing, because I don't want him to have a negative outlook on himself either. Course, like there's something wrong with him, or, you know, I mean, every child, autistic or not, feels like that sense of insecurity, like, well, there's something wrong with me, right? We all kind of go through that phase. I just didn't want him to carry that because of my outlook on autism.
I told him this past 2 weeks, do you know that you are autistic? Do you know how awesome that makes you? You are incredible. You can do things that other people can't even think of. And I can't wait to see that happen.
Yeah. And giving them that confidence to do so.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What about you, Kim?
I mean, obviously all of those things. I think if I were to go back and talk to myself, I mean, I was very hesitant, like I've mentioned, of getting the diagnosis in the first place. But the sooner you embrace that, and like you said, move past the spiral, because it does happen, the sooner you can get services for your child, the sooner you can advocate for your child. And you know what I mean? The sooner things start to turn that corner. And I wish I would have done that sooner, because I kind of languished in that a little bit longer than I should have.
Well, and you still get to be mom.
Yeah.
Like if you have somebody helping with those services, you still get to be mom. And that's one thing I didn't realize until I had people actually helping me with his services, that I can still now play mom. I'm not just mom and HAP provider and speech therapist and OT and all these things. Like I'm mom. So I can keep my role, you know? So that's excellent advice. I have to tell you guys, I really appreciate you guys being on the show and being so transparent. And I can't tell you guys enough how much I love you and appreciate all of you. So thank you so much for your time and energy and for being on the show today. I love you guys. Thank you.
We love you. Oh, yay.
Yay. And so after that love bomb, this concludes our episode for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, or even a show topic that you would like to hear about, please feel free to send me an email at info@piecesformypuzzle.com. And don't forget to hit that like and follow button on Facebook or Instagram if you haven't already. And feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any updates on the new exciting episodes that we have coming up. And like I said, that concludes our episode for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, keep working on your puzzle. And remember, you don't have to have it all solved in a day. Take care.